We were camping last night and we had a pretty good night's sleep, so we're thankful for that. We spent some time reading, went to the bathroom, and we are now ready to go and look at some country properties. And this is something that my wife and I have done for a number of years.
Hey everybody, Chad Cruiser here with Health and Homestead.
We've had the opportunity to look around the country, and we're actually going to look for land, not for ourselves, we're going to look for somebody else who lives out west and they want to move to the country, and so we are looking at a number of properties that they have specifically specified, and so we're going to look at them and kind of bring back a report on how they look, and we're going to bring you along so you can see some of the things that we think about when we're looking at country properties. What would be beneficial, what would be detrimental, what would work and what wouldn't, and you get to come along. You get to come along for the ride, and so we gotta tear down the tent, and then we're gonna hit the road. Well, a few things when you're going to look at country properties. Obviously, you want to have a good breakfast. So, and by the way, I won't just eat this. There'll be plenty of food to eat, but some of the things you want to do is, in general, you obviously want to already have the properties kind of scoped out. You've looked online, maybe you looked at realtor.com, which probably will give you a more up-to-date status on the property than Zillow. Zillow can be great too, but realtor.com will probably let you know earlier if something is already being sold, it's contingent, somebody may be in the process of buying it. So looking on Realtor is a good option, especially right now. We're living in crazy times where properties are going just so fast, and so it's always best, you know, if you're a month out, it's always fun to look, but within a month it may be gone anyway. If you're looking, oh, I'm going to go in a month, you can still write it down. There's a chance that the property won't be taken, especially if it's land. Land is on the market longer than houses. We're going to look at both today. And as we do, one of the things I do is have either written down on paper or have it written down on your phone, but where you don't need internet access, because once you're out in the mountains, so we have a list of properties that these individuals, this couple, are interested in, and I have them on the phone, and then I have a old-fashioned GPS ready, because when you get out in the country, when you get out in a mountain region like we're in right now, there are times where you just don't have any coverage. Like right now, I can't get internet access, and so I wouldn't be able to use my GPS on my phone. It's a very simple point, but it's good to know. Having an old GPS, you probably pick them up on Craigslist for almost nothing. Some of the older ones, we've had this for years, and they just make it more accessible and much easier, so you don't have to go drive into town and find internet access to find the next property. So this makes it much quicker. So let's take off to the first property. All right, so this is the first property that we've arrived at, and I'm actually glad that it happened this way specifically for the video, because I made a mistake that I've made in the past, and the fact that I made it on accident for this video, it works out well for you, and the reason is this. So I got here, and if you see what's behind me, you know, if I show you this shot, it looks nice. You think, okay, that's nice country property, and it is. It's not actually, it's not the best. It's kind of not the best layout of the property. It's just starting to rain now, so I won't be able to do this too long, but what happened is we got here and we realized there's a massive power line directly next to the house, and if you're cool with that, hey, great, but I'm totally not the kind of person. I know the people that we're looking for would not be happy to be next to a massive power line. That's one of the things that really brings down the value of a property, is being next to massive power lines. And secondarily, this place is like a double whammy. This is a place that I would never want to buy. If you're just looking for cheap, this is the kind of place to look. But the problem is, you notice right here, is that there's also this giant phone tower. And with something like this, what you get is you're getting the EMF radiation, and hey, maybe it does nothing, but would you want to live right next to a telephone, this radio tower or cell phone tower, whatever it is? I don't want to at all. So no matter how cheap this land is, it's one thing if somebody maybe just came from time to time to do their farming there, maybe, but I'm not the kind of person that would want to live next to this. So you think, okay, well, you drove all the way. We drove probably an hour to get to this property. It'll probably be an hour to the next property, which is okay.
because this is kind of the way it goes when you look for property, but we could have avoided this if I would have remembered. Normally what I do when I'm looking at property, because I've had this experience in the past, is that you go look at the Google Earth, look at the property, and just kind of back out just enough. Sometimes you can find the property lines in certain, like Zillow, sometimes you can look at the property lines, but back out a little bit, and you'll probably have to go to Google Earth, because sometimes they don't allow you to back out with the Earth view on Zillow. But on Google Earth, you can back out and you can see, oh, there's a massive, what's that massive line going along there? And maybe you'll see, oh, right next to the house is a train track. And if you don't enjoy being woken up at 2 in the morning, maybe you'll avoid that property. Or if you see the electrical lines, or you see a massive cell phone tower, it tells you, hey, this is not the property for me. So this property to me is a strikeout. This is a no-go. And so, and the rain's starting right now, which we'll go on to the next one. But hey, this is just part of the search. So let's go to the next property. So we've made it to the next property, and it's raining. Well, obviously I'm getting wet. I'm actually pretty wet. I've already hiked around, looked at the place, and kind of come up with my idea about it. Now, one of the great things about the property is that has a beautiful pond. My wife said it looks like a lake. It's a big pond, not quite a full-out lake. You could take a little paddle boat on it, or a little canoe or something like that, but not a massive lake, but really a beautiful spot. It actually says that there's a large waterfall on the property. I did not find that. The picture of the waterfall looks amazing. So it may be that I just don't know how the property lies. And one of the things you always want to check is the soil. And the only way to really check a soil is to do a test on the soil. But sometimes you can just look at it like this. As I grab this soil, this is clay. It is simply clay. And so, there's things you can do to improve clay, but obviously this is not top of the line soil here. At least not something that would be immediately easy to work with. What I typically do before I get in touch with a realtor, you could do it either way. Most people, if you're in a real hurry, you don't do this, but because I'm not as in a big a hurry, what I do is I like to stop by first, because I don't want to waste my time with a realtor. If I drive by and I'm like, I totally don't like the area, I don't want to live in that area, and I took a realtor all the way over there, and it wastes their time, wastes my time. So for me, I'd rather just come and look. And you may think, man, raining, that's rough. Well, it is kind of, yeah, it's no fun to be in the rain, but at the same time, rain can actually be a real benefit to looking at property. And the reason is because you look around and you can find out, if it hasn't rained for months, a property could look phenomenal. You think, oh, this is perfect. Then you purchase the thing, and then you find out like water pools, or worse yet, you could be in a flood zone, but that should be that should be registered if there is a flood zone there. So you should be able to know that. Make sure you don't try to build in the flood zone. But having the rain can tell you, does the water pool? And if the water pools, well, that might not be the best area to put your house, unless there's things that can be done to work that out. But the other thing is, you also have to have, if you're gonna buy a property in the country that doesn't have a standard sewer system like you'd have in a city, the main way that people remove it's not the only way, but the main way that people remove their bad water, black water you'd call it in an RV, is you use a septic tank. And in order to have a septic tank, you have to have, in most places that I know of, you do need to get a perk test. And a perk test is basically someone comes from the state or the government, and they have this pipe that they kind of drill into the ground. It could be done maybe in different ways, but the way it was done on our property is they drill down into the ground, see what kind of soil you have. If it's clay, obviously it's much harder to, for the water to percolate down into the earth. And so you need to have it be able to sink down in a certain amount of time. And so if the water goes through well, what they simply do is they say, okay, it passes. They give you a document that says you can get a septic tank on your property. And so it's pretty simple, but if you live in an area that's filled with clay or rock, you might not be able to get a septic tank. And so there's workarounds, there's things that you can do, but you'll have to work with them on that. But it's good to know before you buy a property. And another thing to think about on the property that we were just on is that it's on a nice paved road, which is a real benefit and a negative depending on what you're looking for. It's great because it's good access,
The trouble is if you're looking for a quiet spot and cars are going by 55, 65, 70 miles an hour, you lose the quiet. So it kind of depends what you're looking for. If you're cool with that, you just want good access, then that's perfect. It costs more money to be in a property that has nice paved road frontage most of the time versus having a dirt road frontage or 2-track. The worse the road gets, the cheaper it gets. But then it also can become more difficult to get there, especially in times of rain or snow and all manner of things. So it's really up to you. This property that we had just been on was very beautiful for some person. For some individual, it'd be a perfect spot. Yeah, it's just up to you.
So here we are at, I guess it's going to be the last spot for the day, because it's a beautiful spot if you're looking to just have a cabin with a great view, place to be away in the quiet. I can hear the creek down below, and no birds right now. They're just, I don't know, not around at the moment. It is raining on me again, not as bad as before, so I'm not getting as wet. But great spot, but it's just a tiny little, just a speck of a place you could put a house on it, and the rest of it would just be up on a very steep hillside. So this is not going to be the place to homestead or to grow your own food at all. It's just not going to be an option. You could plant a few fruit trees on the hill or something like that, but this isn't the kind of spot. Plus, it's got a crazy, crazy steep driveway. I can't imagine what it would be like in the winter. I literally can't imagine. Hey, and one thing to think about is, I also show you this. We found, in my estimation, nothing really that great. There was one property that was quite expensive. It was a livable piece of property today. But what I'm really want you to understand is, don't give up if you have a bad day going. It hasn't been a bad day, by the way, but if you feel like you haven't found anything, don't give up. If you really want to go look at property, one of the ways you can do it where you can find better properties, we're not calling most of the realtors. I did call them about one other property, and that gave me more insight into it. Actually, I called about 2 others. One of them, just with the realtor, that told me, no, this isn't it. It was 50 acres. And I asked how much of it was flat enough to do some agriculture, and he said about 0.2 acres. So although, yeah, you could grow some stuff there, but 50 acres with 0.2 acres, it'd give you a lot of timber on the property. But the whole point is, call around. That can make it quicker. Secondarily, if you have a bad day, don't give up. And if you really are going to look for property, take a week off, because it takes time to look for property. Well, I think that's about all we can do for today. We're going to go find a place to camp, and I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be looking at more properties. God bless, and have a fantastic day.